In the early 20th century, Venezuela discovered something that would define its future forever: oil. Enormous oil reserves buried beneath its land. American companies quickly became involved in developing Venezuela's oil industry, and for decades, Venezuelan oil quietly powered American cities, industries, and everyday life. The relationship was simple and stable. Venezuela supplied oil, America bought it. Politically, Venezuela was seen as one of the more democratic and stable countries in Latin America. There was cooperation, trade, and mutual benefit. But oil has never been just an economic resource. Oil is power. Over time, many Venezuelans began to feel that while oil wealth flowed out of their country, ordinary people saw very little benefit. Foreign companies earned profits, elites remained comfortable, but inequality continued to grow. This dissatisfaction slowly built pressure inside Venezuelan society, waiting for the right political moment to explode. That moment arrived at the end of the 1990s. In 1999, Hugo Chavez became president. Chavez was not a traditional politician. He spoke directly to the poor, openly challenged elites, and most importantly, questioned the long-standing influence of the United States in Venezuela and across Latin America. Chavez believed that Venezuela's oil should serve Venezuelans first, not foreign corporations, not global markets, and not powerful countries. He moved to nationalize key industries and reduce American economic influence. At the same time, he openly criticized U.S. foreign policy, calling it imperial and exploitative. For Washington, this was deeply uncomfortable. This was no longer just about trade or oil contracts. It was about ideology. Chavez represented a model that challenged American influence, a leader using state power, socialism, and anti-U.S. rhetoric to control one of the world's most important energy reserves. Tensions escalated quickly, and in 2002, everything changed. Chavez was briefly removed from power during a failed coup attempt. Within 2 days, massive public protests brought him back. Venezuela accused the United States of backing forces behind the coup. The U.S. denied direct involvement, but from that moment on, trust between the two countries was shattered. From Venezuela's perspective, the United States was no longer just another oil supplier. It had become a threat to national sovereignty. From America's perspective, Venezuela was no longer just another oil supplier. It had become a geopolitical problem. After that point, relations never recovered. Chavez began strengthening ties with countries like Russia, China, and Iran, deliberately reducing Venezuela's dependence on the United States. Oil became a political tool used to build alliances and challenge American dominance in the region. When Chavez died in 2013, his successor, Nicolás Maduro, inherited not only power but also a fragile system heavily dependent on oil revenues. As oil prices fell and economic mismanagement worsened, Venezuela plunged into crisis. Hyperinflation destroyed savings. Food and medicine became scarce. Millions of Venezuelans fled the country. The United States accused Maduro's government of authoritarianism, election manipulation, and human rights abuses. In response, Washington imposed heavy economic sanctions, especially targeting Venezuela's oil industry. The U.S. argued that these sanctions were meant to pressure the government. Venezuela argued that they punished ordinary citizens and amounted to economic warfare. Once again, the conflict wasn't being fought with armies on a battlefield. It was being fought through sanctions, isolation, diplomacy, and economic pressure. So why does Venezuela matter so much to the United States? Because Venezuela holds the largest proven oil reserves in the world, because it sits strategically close to U.S. borders, and because allowing a hostile, oil-rich government to openly challenge American influence sets a precedent that other countries might follow. This is why Venezuela has never been a minor issue in Washington. It represents something much larger, a struggle over power, influence, and control in the global system. Recent events have once again pushed this long, tense relationship into the global spotlight. But no matter how current developments unfold, one thing is clear: this conflict did not appear overnight. It was built slowly, over decades, through mistrust, ideology, oil politics, and competing visions of how the world should be ordered. The story of the United States and Venezuela is not a simple story of good and bad actors. It is a story of power versus sovereignty, global influence versus national control.